I have to bring out the man who's responsible for the little cultural treat I performed for you a moment ago. Actually, he's among the participants who put together this splendid book about Cole Porter. And his name is Brendan Gill. He's theater critic for the New Yorker magazine, among other things. Will you welcome, please, Mr. Brendan Gill? Well, I can tell you my life flashed before my eyes about a dozen times there, but I hope Mr. Porter is not, as they say, spinning in his grave. How long ago did he die?
He died just in the, about 7 years ago, but I want to reassure you that your voice as a singer is better than his.
Yeah, they say that he did not sing terribly well.
No, I wasn't making you much of a compliment. It was just better than Cole Porter, which is not bad.
Thank you, I think.
Yeah.
Yes. Didn't you say in the piece you wrote about him that he played his piano kind of surprisingly stiltedly or something? And sang
well, it was really more the way he sang. He had been trained as a pianist, so I think he would have been able to do that fairly well. Mm-hmm. I must say, your piano tonight is safer with me than it was with Mr. Lewis.
He's hard on piano.
Yes, he is. Is that a Baldwin or a Steinway? Is there any plug can be made for that?
Whatever it is, it isn't anymore. I have a feeling he's
Matched
knocked off a lot of pianos in his day. Did Porter have any favorite songs out of all of these? Did he ever commit himself to one of them?
I think that, like everybody, he got to say what people expected him to say, and he certainly praised night and day.
Yeah.
He had songs that he didn't like, famously Rosalie, which he'd had to write for L.B. Mayer, which became a great hit. And then Irving Berlin, when he protested that he hated it, Irving Berlin said, "Listen, kid, don't hate any song that sells 500,000 copies." But Cole Porter, I think, did really enjoy Night and Day and Begin the Beguine, and he kept referring to Begin the Beguine all through his other songs, so it preoccupied him.
I didn't realize till you hear Begin the Beguine in every elevator and on every Muzak every day, so that you begin to forget what a good melody it is. But especially the lyrics are so brilliant. To just sit and read them, they read like a poem.
Yes, I think that's the interesting thing about this book, for which I shouldn't be getting solo billing, because it was Bob Kimball, who was in charge of all the archives up at Yale from the Porter estate, who put together all those lyrics, which was a difficult thing to do. And they do read extremely well. You see what a careful poet he was, and how intensely simple-minded he could be when he wanted to be, but always with sophistication.
And in the movies, when they did the story of his life, when Cary Grant played him, didn't he? And
that was a joke. He meant it to be a joke. You know, Harry Cohn said, "Who should we get to play you?" And Cole Porter, thinking of the most far-fetched actor imaginable to play him, said, "Cary Grant." And Cohn said, "Great, we'll get him."
No matter whether he looked anything like him or had any similar. And when Cary Grant composed the melodies, composed the songs, they came pretty quickly. Was it that way with Cole Porter?
Well, he worked terribly hard. And making tunes, one is almost helpless not to make. You know, Richard Rodgers, all those people, they turn them out by the hundreds. They try to prevent themselves from having so many ideas. But to do what Porter did, which is to write the music and the words and to marry them continuously as he went along. There was just this continuous conjunction. That's very difficult and very hard work, and he admitted that he fell back on the rhyming dictionary a good deal. Yeah. It was a project, but yet he did them rapidly.
We have a couple pictures of him. Probably take a look at. We won't do that right now. Let's take a message and then we'll come back and do those. This is a terrific book. Books this size are usually a waste of money, you know, the kind they give you for coffee tables, but this is one that would really be good to have. Let's take one look at one picture of Cole Porter for people who don't have any image of him at all in their minds. There he is. Can you see that, That's, well, I guess it must be the earliest photo you found.
That was one of the, well, there are some baby pictures, but that was when he was a little boy growing up in Peru, Indiana, and already very pleased with himself, very much the family favorite. He was an only child of a very strong woman and of a very, very strong grandfather who was a millionaire and determined to have Cole, his namesake, follow him just in making money. And Cole had a difficult time remaining a poverty-stricken millionaire, never getting really rich, but having a good time instead. But the grandfather didn't believe in any of this musical business.
Thought it was...
And it just, he was wasting his substance there in the East. But you know how it is when people come from Indiana and like Scott Fitzgerald from Minnesota, and some people from Nebraska.
Oh, yes.
It's hard.
Yeah, the glittering East. It's hard. You know, and you see all these pictures. Well, they're all through here, but I don't know why there's such an appeal to those photographs you see of him on the beach with his friends, Monty Woolley, and all the really glittering people of that age. He was terrifically wealthy all his life.
And his wife happened to be even richer than he was at the beginning of their marriage. But for some reason, that whole 20s period with the Gerald Murphys and Noel Coward and everybody remains thrilling 40 years later.
Yeah, you look at the pictures, you want to know what the conversations were, where they went that night, and all.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe they'd have been boring, but I doubt it.
No, they had a good time, and I think they had reason to be having a good time.
Yeah. Let's take a look at. Oh wait, it isn't up there. This picture bears some explanation, but it's a very sad picture. I don't know if can you get a good shot of it. This is him. What would the date of this be? Being carried into the theater. Can you get down where you see the leg in a cast?
And he never gave up. He was determined after his accident to go on living precisely as he had before.
Tell what happened to him.
Well, it was a sort of a characteristic episode in his life, and at the same time, the dreadful misfortune of his life, because he was just at the peak of his powers, and he, one morning, in a characteristically fashionable setting, the Piping Rock Club in Long Island, determined to have a weekend party and have things really be happening. Nobody else wanted to have anything happening on a Sunday morning, but he got everybody out. They went to the stable, and he was going to have a ride, and the groom warned him against this very mettlesome horse, but nothing would do but that he ride that horse. And out on the bridle trail, the horse shied at something, fell back, fell over onto Cole, and then the horse, trying to get up, rolled over and crushed one of Cole's legs, and then got up and fell down again and rolled over on the other side and crushed the other leg. And Cole was almost in this, what you'd call a state of shock, but nevertheless, waiting for help to come, he took out his pad and pencil and worked on the lyrics of the song that became At Long Last Love. And then was taken to the hospital and was expected to, he might even die if he didn't have his legs amputated, but his mother and his wife decided that he mustn't have this because this would ruin him psychologically. So they began the series of operations which he was undergoing all the rest of his life until he had a total of 35 operations and finally lost one leg, after which he never composed anything.
They say he was in pain the rest of his
All
life.
the rest of his
when
life
somebody
he was
says
in
that,
pain.
it's hard, you can't comprehend it, but that every moment was
But he
really
was
hard for him.
determined to be joyous as well as in pain, which is a pretty hard thing to do.
Well, I wouldn't be. I'd go right under. I'd just complain and pity myself.
But he went to parties and he gave parties and pretended that it hadn't happened. It's a heroic life.
Did I imagine it? Did I exaggerate it earlier when I said he wished that he were dead at one point, or that he felt that did you say he waited for death and sort of with a certain...
Yes, in the last years, and he had a very strong lifeline because his mother had lived to be 90, his grandfather lived to be 95, and his body refused to die, although he longed for it to die. And that was part of the heroism of those last years.
There's a lot of that going around. Last night, John Carradine was here, and he said how sad it was when John Barrymore said 10 years before he died, I'm ready, I've done everything, I've had every honor, I've had every woman I ever wanted, I've had every thrill I've ever wanted, and I'm just ready to die. And he went on for 10 years after that.
Well, I'm a great believer in suicide, but a lot of those people of that generation are not.
It's the first time I've ever heard anyone say that publicly.
Oh, I'm an ardent champion of it. For anybody over 40, but not for anybody in their 20s. But I think that if you have had enough by 40 and you are miserable, you ought to die. And you certainly, if you haven't had enough by 40, you haven't lived well.
Do your Catholic friends get in a fight with you about that?
No, very few people seem to believe as strongly in suicide as I do.
I had there's a prominent psychiatrist who says that you have no right to stop someone from killing himself if they want to, unless of course they're under influence of some strange thing that will pass. But if you've had enough, who can say?
That's right.
It's a strange question.